Hi Hazel. Sorry these videos are taking a bit longer to get to you, but hopefully I'll be able to get these across to you today at some point. Um, and how it will work basically is that once I've recorded the videos, I'll just upload them to our YouTube channel, and they'll be, um, at your resource really whenever you need them. So yeah, so I'll just put together. I may be able to cover everything in one video, but if we need more, then so be it. That's absolutely fine. So I think this is just a taster, I guess, about just getting used to the site and where everything happens and how to do certain things. I mean, I'm sure you may be familiar with a lot of the stuff already from the old VisitBala website. We try to sort of, even though the whole system has been upgraded for this new site, the back end is very, very similar, just to help the client, i.e. yourself, just to familiarize yourself that much more quickly, So a good place to start is, as you can see, I've got the front end of the website open here. And if we shift along to there, then I have the back end open here as well. So it's a good rule of thumb to have, either the front and back end open in different browsers or in different tabs in the same browser. It's entirely up to you. So yeah, so let's get going. So we'll start off with the home page. There have been some tweaks made, a lot of tweaks made since we spoke last. Colors, have been changed, and also the way that the menu works, which I think we've discussed, has changed. I think that's probably the best place to start, to be honest, is the menu. So the menu is this white bar here across the top. And if we start off with see and do, now we can see here that we've got our carousel slider here, which is essentially, it's showing, as we discussed, it's showing categories of things to see and do in Bala. So, this can scroll across, and there is no limit to how many that you have in here. At the moment, it's 8. I mean, it's obviously, I don't anticipate you going berserk with it. But we would recommend a maximum of, I don't know, maybe 12 to 16 or something like that. You don't want people scrolling and scrolling and scrolling forever. But yeah, as you can see, that the categories are already in place. Their links have been set up. Or if they haven't, then they will be set up today. But this is just to give you a quick overview. So one important thing to remember about this is the boxes that you see here, the water sport, nature, wildlife, art and crafts, they are set as categories in the back end. So if we jump into the back end, so here we are in the back end, as I'm sure you've had a little look around. And as you can see straight away, the create and the edit and the members and the structure is very, very similar to VisitBala. But to stay on track, the categories in the see and do, if we go into here and we go into developer here, and we were going into channel manager, and here we've got category groups. Now, what I'm doing here isn't necessarily something that you'll have to do. It's just in case that you want to go in and maybe change the images, because as you can see here, the categories don't have an image assigned to them, and where we are at the moment in the back end, this is where the images for those are added, because they are categories. So if we just click into see and do, because that's the category group that we want, and we can see here that the categories and the order of the categories reflects on what we see on the front end here. So if we just click by there, so we've got attractions and outdoor activities. These can be changed around. You can drag these into any order you want, but these are just the order that you had specified in your sitemap that you sent over to me. So if we wanted to go into let's just say, for example, walking. So to edit that, all we do is just click the little pencil. And what we've got here is an image. So at the minute, none is set, as we can see on the front end, but we can choose from a directory. And when we choose from a directory, it gives us this option. So, we can view the thumbnails here, and there you go. We've got some images to choose from here. So if you wanted to add an image, let's say, for example, that's a nice one for walking. So if we click that, and there we go. So it appears in there. Now, once I've saved this, then obviously this picture that we've selected here will show up in this box here. Whilst we're in the categories, though, it's a good thing to note is that in the sitemap that you sent over, you said that these categories here would go through to member listings. So if we were to click on attractions, for example, it would go through to the attractions category page, and it would list things such as, I don't know, Zip World, for example, as an attraction, just as an example there. But for things like walking, you may want a page, more of a page rather than a listing. And rather than having a list, member listings on the page, you might want to put a bit more depth into the walking page because it's such a big aspect of what you can do in Bala. So with that in mind, I've created what I've called an override link. Now, at the moment it says google.com, but what you can do here is you can change this, and you can change that to say, for example, I don't know for sure what the URL is yet, but you could put in there, say, visitbala.co.uk/walking in Bala. And what that would do is then it overrides the link of what we see here, because these links here, that would go to a category page, that would go to a category page. But because I've put an override link in walking, it would basically go to the URL that I tell it to, and it would override what would normally happen. So that's a good thing to note, because I think with walking, and I think maybe, I'm not sure if walking was the only one that you wanted perhaps a different link going off to somewhere, but just to let you know, that is the option that controls this. So if we save this, so that's now been updated. And what we can do now is we refresh, and then under see and do, we can see that the walking now has an image added to it. And this will need to be done for each of the categories, obviously, and the images are entirely up to you. We just recommend that you keep the size down. Don't be uploading a 2 megabyte image in there or something like that. So they've got to be appropriately sized and cropped. The cropping is done for you here. This will crop it as best it can. It's just the file size to keep into account, really. Now, this menu for see and do is essentially it's a replica almost of what we've got in the accommodation. And as you can see, the categories that we've got here, if we relate this to the back end, if we go back into the category groups, we've got accommodation type. So if we click into there, you'll see the 5 boxes that we're seeing here. And obviously these already have images in. They don't have the override link in there, because obviously you want these all to go to the same place, which is essentially the category for their accommodation type. So there's no real exceptions in there, so we didn't really need to put that in. So moving on to the next one here is we've got about Bala, and this differs slightly in that it's not controlled by categories as these two were. This is controlled by pages. Now, anything that's related to pages on the website falls under the structure category. You can always find it in structure. So if we click back into our back end here, we've got a shortcut in the top left here for structure. So if we click on that, and this gives us the sitemap essentially, of all the pages that have been created and how they are structured. So the area that we want to look at is this part here, which is local area. Now, when we started, that's what we were going to call this menu item, which has since been changed to About Bala. But essentially, these pages that are displaying here, the location, the Bala Lake, town directory, and so on, they are child pages of About Bala. And that's how they are controlled. That's how they're displayed there in the first place. So if we relate this to the back end and we have a look in structure, we can see the local area, which has since been changed to About Bala, contains 6 child pages. And we can see straight away that those 6 child pages are relative to these here, even down to the order. As you can see, the location map is at the top and tourist information is at the bottom, as it is here. So changing the titles of these, switching around the order, you can just click and drag these to reorder. These all impact what we see here. And the images themselves is also within your control. I know I've put some unrelated images in there. I mean, Zip World doesn't have anything to do with the location map, but if we just click into the back end and we wanted to go to location map, and there we can see the image straight away. So if we were to click in there, we wanted to remove that, we want to add something a bit more Bala-ish, then I could maybe select that one for argument's sake. Always go down to the bottom, save the changes, always save the changes, goes without saying. And then we refresh. And then under About Bala, we can see that the pictures change straight away. So that kind of sums up the menu, essentially. The gallery, the events, and the blog are three static links is what we like to call them. So they will just go straight to their respective pages. The 3 here, see and do, accommodation, About Bala, are a little bit more complex. They give the site a bit more, I don't know, they just give it something different, So, but hopefully this video has sort of explained how they're controlled and how they work and how they can be changed by yourself. And, I'm sure you'll agree it's fairly straightforward to do all of that, and hopefully this video will sort of serve as a reminder. I think I'll probably end up having to make another video because we've just covered the menu, and I think I'll leave it there for the first video. I'll upload this, I'll move on to the second, and yeah, we'll carry on from there.